Welcome to the 10th installment of the Portfolio Report, where I update you on how my affiliate portfolio is performing. If you're new to the series, up top somewhere, whichever side it is, I still can't figure that out, there should be a card linking you to the playlist if you're new to the series and you want to check out the previous videos. Today we're going to be talking about how things went in March. In the last report, I talked about a development team that I hired and was testing out to see if they were going to be a good fit to continue working on the sites. And to cut a long story short, they didn't end up working out, and I ended up hiring a new developer. As I started assigning tasks, I had to follow up multiple times just to make sure even sometimes simple changes were made on the site. Sometimes they were already made and I just wasn't told that the changes were done. Other times they hadn't even started on something that really shouldn't take all that long. And because of that, it started adding roadblocks to other tasks that just couldn't be completed until that whatever that developer task was, which slowed everything down for a couple of sites this month. On top of that, something that's really important to me is the why. I like understanding why something broke, why it isn't working, or what the solution was and why that was the way to go. I wasn't really getting that understanding from the previous developer. They were, implementing things, they were making the changes eventually that I wanted them to make, but I wasn't getting the where did we put this piece of code? Why did we choose to install this plugin, or why did we choose to solve the problem this way? And so the tasks were being completed, but I never had an understanding as to why it should be completed that way, which is just really important to me. To each their own. I'm sure not everybody cares. But live and let learn. This is just one of the challenges of hiring. And like I said, I've hired another developer. Of course, it's still pretty early on, so hopefully this person will end up working out, but if not, it's just the process of finding somebody who will be a good fit, because what's a good fit for me might not be a good fit for somebody else, and vice versa. On the project management front, I've continued to set up Clickup mainly through setting up recurring tasks for anything that happens on a daily, weekly, monthly, or even on a yearly basis. Now, one of the problems with the sites is because I I really haven't worked on them for almost a year at this point. There are well over 200 tasks currently in the queue, just sitting there waiting to be completed. There's also still the question as to how to manage budgets within Clickup. This is something I mentioned was an issue on the last video, and I recently also moved the agency over to using Clickup, and the agency has run into the same problem, where we're just not finding an easy way or a cohesive way that doesn't take a lot of extra time or have a high margin of error for managing budgets, both as at the project level but also at the task level when need be. So because both the affiliate sites and my agency are using the same project management platform, I'm looking for a solution that will work for both sides of the equation. And so I'm hoping to find a solution within ideally the next couple of months that'll work for both, just to make things a lot easier overall. But again, if you have any ideas as to how to properly manage or efficiently manage budgets within Clickup, I'm all ears, because right now I just can't find any sort of solution within their platform. I'm also currently in the process of getting all the websites up on AMZ Watchers, which previously only 2 of the sites were. Now, if you're not familiar with AMZ Watchers, what they do is they'll essentially, on a recurring basis that you can set, crawl the website and create reports for you that'll tell you things like, these are the products that are out of stock, these are the affiliate tags that are missing on your products, these are the products that are no longer available, or various other issues that makes it very easy to understand what the health score of your site is, at least as they call it, by just knowing what products are not available, or if you accidentally broke an affiliate link. While setting up AMZ Watchers for the rest of the sites, I ran into an issue where I ended up hitting my limit for how many sites I can add under the plan that I'm on with them, but for all the other specifications within that plan, if that's what you want to call them, I wasn't reaching any of my other limits, not even close. I was using maybe 10% of my other limits. It's just that I have a number of really small sites. And so I reached out to support and I was like, hey, what can we do here? Can I get a custom plan where I don't need any other benefits? Everything else can stay the same. I just need to be able to add more sites to it. So support very quickly was like, yeah, sure, we can do that for you, no problem, which is amazing. So right now I'm just in the process of waiting for them to upgrade my plan to a custom plan, which will save me more money compared to if I just went to the next level plan, which would increase all of my limits, both the site limits and all the other stuff that I I don't need in the first place. So I'm just waiting for that to be completed, and then they'll automatically set up my billing for that custom plan. I thought it was really awesome that they were able to do that, especially so quickly. It just took 2 minutes talking to their support team. And if you want to check out AMZ Watchers, I will leave links in the description for you to check them out. Across the entire portfolio, I automated/streamlined how to change any date reference of 2020 to 2021 in a way that going further, or in the future rather, going from 2021 to 2022 will only take a couple of seconds per site. So overall, just made that process a lot faster and cleaner. And I've made a note to myself to create a video at some point going over that process and how I was able to use a couple different areas of WordPress in order to streamline/automate that process. If you want that video to come out sooner, let me know. There's a lot of interest for it. I'll move it up in the queue. If not, then I'll get around to it when I get around to it. Now, before we jump into each of the individual sites, let's talk some housekeeping. If nothing was done on an individual site in the past month or whatever time period there is between videos, then I'll just start diving right into the numbers for that site. I won't take up the extra time needed to say that there was nothing done on the site. It just is a waste of time for me to say that, where you can just assume that if I don't tell you that things were done for that site and I just jump into what the numbers were for the month, then no changes were made to that site. This will help me cut down on how long these videos actually take to produce a little bit, because it's just less things that I have to say and less time to edit. Video production is still fairly new to me, so it takes me quite a long time to set everything up to record, to create outlines and drafts, to be able to record these videos, to do takes and retakes, to edit, and once the video is done, cut out some extra stuff just to get it within a reasonable timeline so that it doesn't take a half hour to go through the video. But right now, I'm cutting out quite a bit of stuff that I'm recording, so keeping it as succinct as possible will just make my life a hell of a lot easier. So without further ado, let's talk about the individual sites. On the sports site, one more article was published, and I still have 2 other articles that need to be edited or rewritten in order for them to fit the page format so that I can publish them. And to be honest, I've been kind of dragging my feet on this one, just because it's a pretty big pain, and with all the other tasks that I have for all the other sites, just to be honest, I'm kind of procrastinating it, but I'll get around to it because the content's already there. It will be a bit annoying to have to get them rewritten and go through a lot of the site's budget to do so, because it's a fairly low earning site, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Taking a look at revenue and expenses, traffic is up quite a bit, a little under double month over month. And if we look at the earnings are up as well, not nearly up as much as traffic is, but we're starting to get into the on season for this niche. So I'm hoping to see some further increases to the earnings. If we were able to hit, 250 consistently for the, roughly the mid-year last year from July to, I would say about September, we had, maybe into October, we had a decent amount of earnings. If we could keep fairly high earnings and be up year over year, I'd be pretty excited about that. Looking at how March did in 2021 versus 2020, revenue was almost doubled and traffic was over doubled. So I think we have a pretty good chance of seeing some pretty nice earnings for this upcoming season for the site, which is really exciting. If we look at the expenses, $15 in expenses, which was attributed to VA costs to go in and upload the content. This brings the site's total P&L to a loss of $1,974.09. Moving on to the micro niche outdoor site, we managed to finish creating Ninja tables, but we just haven't deployed them on the front end of the site. So if you're familiar with Ninja tables, on the plugin backend, we have all the tables created. They just need to actually be added to the site and replacing the existing tables that are on the site. In order to set up Ninja tables, that's where the expenses for this month come in for both web design costs and VA costs to create those tables, get all the features and settings sorted, and then for my VA to go in there and duplicate these tables and copy over the data from the existing tables. Looking at revenue and expenses, we're also seeing some pretty exciting stuff on this site. Revenue is up, traffic is up, both month over month and quite a bit year over year, going from $158.16 in March of 2020 to $373.03 in March of 2021. As I said, the expenses for March were attributed to the design and VA costs around setting up Ninja tables, and we're seeing a massive increase in year-over-year traffic right now. So there's not much to say here other than it's looking good. This brings the site's total profit and loss to a loss of $1,732. Looking at the broad tech site, we're not seeing a whole lot of changes since the December core algorithm update when the site was absolutely slammed because of it. We are seeing some nice increases in earnings and traffic month over month, but nothing worth writing home about. Overall, this brings the site's total P&L to a loss of $583.84. For the automotive site, we're not seeing any massive changes month over month. Earnings are up, traffic is down a little bit, so nothing worth writing home about there either. However, looking year over year, earnings is down, traffic is down quite a bit. This is all around August of 2020, the site started slipping. Well, really, if you go back to about June 2020, the site started slipping from there, but it became much more evident after August, where between August and September, there was almost a 50% difference in earnings. Since then, the site has continued to slip down a little bit. Traffic is maybe about half of what it was about 5-6 months ago, but the site's still earning a decent amount, so it is something that I of course want to see the earnings go back up, but I'm not terribly worried overall. This brings the site's total P&L to a profit of $8,144.91. For the niche outdoors site, we saw a massive increase in month over month earnings, almost up 3 times, which is absolutely insane. Traffic didn't seem nearly as large as a jump. We went from about a total of about 5,200 visits in February to just under 7,400 in March. So traffic definitely did not see as large as an increase as earnings did. We don't have any year-over-year data for this site because I bought it back in May of 2020, so we're not quite at the year mark. But when I bought it in May, I bought it partly through the month, so it only did about $55 or $56 in revenue in May, but that was a partial month. It was doing about $300 in June, $192 in July. So overall, this is looking really promising, especially if this wasn't just one fluke of a really good month. If earnings do stay up, especially as the next couple of months happen, that could be really exciting. So this brings the site's total profit and loss to a profit of $1,986. For niche tech site number 1, didn't see much of any changes month over month. Traffic is a little bit down, earnings is up, but really nothing out of the ordinary if you compared it to the past couple of months of performance. Traffic for the past 2 months is lower than what it was looking in December and January, but looking at earnings, which is also lower than December and January, it's still within a comfortable range that I'm not too worried about it. And this site and all the ones going forward have been owned for less than a year, so we don't have year-over-year comparisons. For this one, we won't have a year-over-year comparison until July of this year. But if we were to look at the earnings versus when I bought it, it doesn't seem like too much has changed overall. The month that I got it back in July, it did about $250, but the month after that, it did over $500, and so it's been hovering around the $350 to $500 range roughly ever since I bought. This brings the site's total P&L to a loss of $3,155.70. For niche tech site number 2, we're also not seeing a whole lot of month-over-month changes. Of course, things are still within the nosedive that the site took back in December, with earnings being way down as compared to where they were from August to November. But month-over-month, we're not really seeing any sort of difference. This brings the site's total P&L to a loss of $8,019.39. And for niche tech site number 3, which is the final site, we're also not seeing a whole lot of month-over-month changes. Traffic did see a pretty big increase month over month, but in terms of earnings, negligible. Only about a $5 difference in earnings. But I haven't checked Amazon on the back end, so it is very possible that the traffic increase led to sales that were for products that just haven't shipped yet, which the earnings would then be attributed to April, which I just haven't checked. But that could be a reason why traffic would go up so much, but earnings wouldn't go up as much. But overall, the site's still pretty far down from where it was back in November, December, where it was earning at one point about $250 a month. But overall, I'm not terribly worried. This is one that, even though it did drop, even if it stays this low, the site still will more than likely be profitable as long as I just hold on to it. This brings the site's total P&L to a loss of $494.56. To be honest, I'm pretty happy with where most of the sites are in terms of traffic and earnings, but I'm also really overwhelmed with this project right now. Having the sites sit last year was great, where I could just focus on other things, mainly the agency, and the affiliate sites just would continue to earn what they were earning. The downside of that is now that I'm actively working on the sites, or at least trying to actively work on the sites, I just see mountains and mountains of audits, strategies, changes, etc., that are just piled up as tasks that eventually need to get completed. And looking at it, it's hard to imagine even tackling most of those within a reasonable amount of time. But at the same time, this is exactly why I want to keep this video series going, as it gives me motivation, at least to some extent, to actually work on the sites, despite it seeming like every month there's just more being done, I'm just further behind. Is that if I'm not doing something on the sites, then I really have nothing to share in these videos. So it gives me some sort of underlying need to actually do something with the sites. But I'm hoping that in time, I'll be relatively caught up within a reasonable amount of time, hopefully, for the overflow of tasks. Right now, even though I want to buy more sites, I have the cash ready to go to buy more sites. I'm trying really hard not to accept any offers that come my way right now, just so I can focus on these sites and not just acquire a new site and then just have even more tasks outstanding. So that's also more motivation for me to get the mountain of tasks a lot shorter, because I refuse to buy another site until I have a reasonable weekly, monthly workflow through the existing sites. So with that being said, that's the end of this video, and like always, if you liked this video, please share it with your friends, and if you didn't like this video, please share it with your enemies.